Hello, and welcome to the webinar on Title IV Part A COVID-19 waivers. This is Layla Brewer, and today we'll be discussing some changes to the Title IV Part A grant. Due to the impact of the coronavirus on schools and districts around the country, the U.S. Department of Education has granted waivers that will impact how districts can utilize their allocations. As an overview, we will be discussing the U.S. Department of Education's response to COVID-19, waivers for Title IV Part A, the Equitable Services to Private Schools requirement, and how to make changes in GMAP. The CARES Act, which was signed into law on March 27th, included the Elementary and Secondary Education Relief, or ESSER Fund, that will provide emergency relief funds to states and local districts. To support COVID-19 response, districts will receive ESSER funds that will be approximately 83% of their Title I Part A allocation. A second set of funds will be available through the Governor's Emergency Relief Fund, or GEARS Fund, that will provide support in remote learning and technology and support food services on a continuing basis. The U.S. Department of Education also waives certain federal program requirements, including the ESEA definition of professional development, to allow districts and schools to use professional development funds to conduct time-sensitive, one-time, or standalone training focused on supporting educators and providing effective distance learning. The department also extended the period of availability for funds in the 2019 application for Titles I, Parts A and D, Title II Part A, Title III Part A, Title IV Parts A and B, and Title V Part B programs, and the McKenty-Vento Homeless Children and Youth Program. U.S. Ed also waives specific requirements for the Title IV Part A grant. The lifting of restrictions due to the global pandemic of COVID-19 are to support schools and districts to give them flexibility in addressing needs of students. All other federal and statutory guidance still applies to include the use of funds. The waivers apply to funds during the current 2019-2020 school year. This includes any Title IV Part A funds the district had as part of the 2019 application that were carried over into the current school year and funds part of the 2020 application. The waivers do not apply to the upcoming 2021 program funds that will be part of the upcoming application. The Title IV Part A waivers include the needs assessment requirement for the 2019-2020 school year, the content area spending requirements for the FY19 and FY20 applications, and the spending limitation on technology devices and infrastructure for FY19 and FY20 applications. All of these waivers were allowed to provide flexibility in meeting the educational needs of students during this period. The comprehensive needs assessment is not required for changes made to the FY19 or FY20 application that are due to COVID-19 or related expenses. Districts may need to make changes as a program they were carrying out during the year had suddenly changed, or the district is now unable to carry out the program or activity due to the current situation and may need to pivot on how they are either delivering the program or make a change to best meet the academic needs of students. When revising the application, the district will need to provide justification for the change in the program description. Examples of reasonable justifications would be purchase online STEM program in order to provide STEM learning opportunities for students as part of remote learning, or provide training for teachers on using the online learning platform to deliver instruction to students remotely. Title IV Part A requires districts that receive $30,000 or more in funds to spend at least 20% in well-rounded education, 20% in safe and healthy students, and a portion in effective use of technology. This has been waived for the funds impacting the 2019-2020 school year only, and funds in the FY19 and FY20 applications, and allow districts to now allocate funds in any area without a minimum spending requirement for each section in order to provide flexibility if funds are needed in support of changes to the plan due to the coronavirus. The final requirement that was waived for the FY19 and FY20 applications is the 15% cap on the use of Title IV Part A funds to purchase technology devices or infrastructure in the effective use of technology section. This lists the restriction where no more than 15% of funds in this section can be used on devices, hardware, or software. The lifting of the restriction is for districts to provide remote learning to students. While this restriction is waived, districts will also be receiving additional funding through the ESSER Fund and the GEARS funds to help support districts in the purchase of technology to support online learning. So you'll want to think strategically how to use a combination of these funds for these purchases. When revising the application, all funds must be reasonable, necessary, allocable, allowable, and documented. Purchases must be reasonable in cost, meaning that the cost is comparable to other similar items based upon prudent and sound purchasing practices. This means looking for items that have a reasonable cost and aren't priced over fair market value. The cost must be necessary in order to carry out the needs-based Title IV Part A program. For example, if the district identified STEM as a need and were implementing a STEM robotics club, then it would be necessary to purchase robotics materials to carry out the program. All expenses must be allocable. This means the cost is specifically for the benefit of the program that meets the program's intent. The cost must be an allowable activity that can be supported under Section 4107, 4108, and 4109 of the ESCA and abides by all other federal education grant guidance. Finally, all costs should be documented. This means the district keeps documentation of any meetings that were held that discussed how funds would be used to justify the expenses. The district maintains purchase orders and receipts and any other documentation that may be requested as part of an audit or monitoring visit. If the district determines that the Title IV Part A funds plans need to change due to COVID-19 and a change to remote learning, the district must revise the GMAP application and provide justification in the application for the expenses. For example, if the district originally had in their application they'd be having after-school STEM program for parents and students to increase involvement, but now find they have an increased need for one-time professional development for teachers in remote learning, the district could make that change. The justification would be that the district moved to using a new program to support remote learning, needed to conduct a training to ensure teachers are able to use the new platform. The district must also adjust MUNIS to match the approved GMAP application. The district must maintain time and effort justification for anyone paid with Title IV Part A funds, keep copies of all purchase orders and receipts for expenditures, and label purchased items and maintain a property or equipment log for non-consumable items purchased with federal funds. The district must also ensure they are providing equitable services for participating private schools. Equitable services are supposed to be provided during the school year in which funds are allocated. Due to extenuating circumstances, those services that were unable to be carried out during the school year due to school closures can be carried over into next school year. To determine how to carryover funds will be used, the district must consult with appropriate private school officials. The district must maintain documentation of the consultation, and any changes in services that will be provided must be made in the GMAP application. To show the changes in GMAP on the 2019 or 2020 applications, the district should keep the application the same. Any changes made should be added in the application in red on the program description page, budget page, and equitable services page if services have changed. This allows consultants to quickly review the changes and either ask districts questions for additional clarification or approve the changes to the application. Once the changes are approved, the district finance officer must align the MUNIS budget with the approved GMAP budget. The MUNIS budget should be set up with the corresponding categories in GMAP, and only codes approved in the application should be open in the Title IV Part A MUNIS budget. If you have questions about the Title IV Part A waivers, how funds can be used, or how to make changes in GMAP, please either contact me, Layla Brewer, at 502-564-4772, extension 4028, or at layla.brewer@education.ky.gov, or Lee Bowling at 502-564-4772, extension 4035, or at lee.bowling@education.ky.gov. Thank you.